Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're doing a gaming news consolidated August 25th through the 31st. I know we just had one of these, but I'm catching back up. I generally try to actually get these done during the weekend. And consolidated news is where basically exactly what it is. I take hours of video and looking at different articles and stuff and consolidate it all right here for you. And the reason we have Star Wars Outlaws up is because I'm actually reviewing this game. I've done an initial look, part 1, for the prologue, and then I'm actually in the real game now, and that will be part 2 for the initial look. I'll do a pretty much full review of this during this month. And thank you guys, too, for voting. This is actually the game you guys voted for in January. You guys will be able to vote again next January. But I'll also take time to review the DLCs for this as well, since you guys voted for it. Regardless of how we feel about it, I really want to do a good job. And that's important to me and for the growth of this channel. So let me check my audio. Perfect. It actually sounds great. I've still had audio issues too, so we're rolling out stuff fairly slow. And yeah, it's just been a busy time, but hopefully you guys are doing well. As you can tell, I'm still a little bit under the weather. That's just maybe going to be permanent. Man, I hope not. But we're going to talk about PlayStation 5 price hike and why. I'm going to try to explain it for you guys. Also, we're going to talk about another failing game that was like an exclusive for PlayStation, not Xbox. We got to talk about Stalker 2. I'm actually really excited about this. That comes out in November. We're going to talk about AI getting better. We also got to talk about the publisher Krafton. It seems like they really messed up Callisto Protocol, which was a game I was excited for. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. Also, we're going to talk quite a bit about Ubisoft and Star Wars Outlaws. We're going to talk about some of the bugs that's been going on, and then I'll share my own thoughts. And then we're going to talk about how people are feeling about Outlaws so far. We're going to talk about a couple of deaths, which is a bummer, and I just wanted to share those. And then games coming in September. So we have a lot to discuss and all that. Of course, like and sub, all that jazz. The algorithm loves it, and so do I. So thank you very much. But let's get into PlayStation 5. So we got another price hike that is going to be happening pretty much in September, and this really sucks because it's actually a pretty big price hike. Now, we had a price hike in 2022. PlayStation 5 got an increase of 10% at the time, but not necessarily in the United States. But it was a 10% price increase for everywhere else, whether it was South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, whatever. Australia, everybody pretty much got a price increase. This price increase now is an additional 20% for the disc version and 18% for the digital version just in Japan. This also affects accessories as well. As far as I know, not services, because they already had their price increase, just like Sony and Xbox did. And but yeah, this really sucks. And when we take a look at this, this is actually a 30% increase now in Japan since launch. Think of that. Usually technology gets cheaper as it's been out longer, and this launched in like 2019, beginning-ish of 2020, somewhere right in there. So we're looking at over 4 years since this has been out, possibly even 5 at this point. And the fact that it's gone up for Japanese folks, 38%, is just pretty crazy. And so what's going on? Well, this is happening because of currency economics since the lockdowns. And so just to recap for everybody, we had worldwide stimulus that led to a lot more extra money and credit chasing the same amount of goods. We then also had, because of these lockdowns, we had supply chain issues. So there weren't a lot of PlayStations out there. There weren't a lot of Xboxes out there. Also, it was very difficult to get cars and basically anything that actually had some kind of computer chip or RAM in it. And ultimately, this all increased inflation worldwide. And the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency being used, and also a lot of debt is taken out in the U.S. dollar. And when we're talking about the different currencies, we're talking about, their value against each other. Now, when talking about value to something that's more precious, like oil or gold, yes, everything is basically losing value. But since 2021, the Japanese yen is devalued about 30%. This is 102 now 144.5 to $1. And so you actually get a lot of yen compared to what it used to be. And again, this is about a 30% increase of the devaluing of the yen against the US dollar. And so because of this, they have to adjust these prices. It's not that the price increase is going up, like the amount of value of the PlayStation 5 is going up. It's that there's more currency units needed to pay for the same amount of value. Does that make sense? It's not that it's getting more expensive. It's that the currency is devaluing and you need more of it to pay for the same amount of stuff. We've seen this with minimum wage increases. We've seen this when there's like social economic markets. Is that generally inflation is a phenomenon where it just the price of things go up the more money there is floating around to buy all of these goods and services. And this is why too we'll never see prices in our childhood again. Like it will stay the same, unfortunately. Now, generally speaking, consoles have pretty much stayed the same price, except for Nintendo. They've gradually actually gone up in price, generally speaking. But as for PlayStation and Xbox, they've basically stayed at $500 a console now for well over a decade. And this is pretty incredible that they've stayed that way. Plus, too, a lot of our services with these companies has basically also stayed the same. And so now we're having all of these price increases and stuff, which sucks. And I mean, there's really no way around it. But these companies could technically charge more as a percentage basis. Because if we look at like 2010, the US dollar is devalued about 44%. So instead of $1, it takes now $1.44 to buy the same thing. And that's what's happening here with Japan, except it's just very, very quick. But this type of change in currency units and the inflation and devaluing of a currency, this is why this is why a game that was $60 now costs generally $70. The price increase for PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live now Core. Excuse me, the cost of controllers, etc., other services. Companies are trying to pass on expenses to them, to us as the consumer. And when they can't do that, there's closures, there's layoffs, and there's bankruptcies, which is the most severe form. And so this is what kind of explains what we're all seeing in the economy. Things cost more, but also there's less demand because the prices are high. And the wages never keep up with inflation. That is a losing battle, folks, because as soon as you have more currency units to pay for inflation, it just keeps the prices going. This is why, too, ultimately, subsidies with the government never work either. When the government says, oh, well, we're going to pay for it, they ultimately have to raise taxes, and they also artificially keep those prices high instead of letting the open market decide what the price should be. And so, yeah, it never goes down, unfortunately, and this is what we're seeing with our housing markets right now all over the world. But yeah, that's a whole nother video, folks. But honestly, if this doesn't really make a lot of sense necessarily, I really encourage you, please, if you don't understand this type of form of economics or really anything about economics, they don't really teach it in school anymore, regardless of where you are in the world. And so please take time to study yourself. Okay, there's information out there, there's books out there, there's really good YouTube channels if you want some suggestions, but please get educated about how money works, how credit works, and what it is, and why this inflation thing is happening, because we're seeing it at a pretty quick rate. Some countries have seen all the way upwards of 100% in a year. Which is insane. Over here in the States, the highest we had was about 9-10%. But again, if you use an older way of calculating it, like in the 90s, it was closer to like 15-17%, which that probably makes a lot more sense for us. But honestly, the United States has been the best off with devaluing currencies compared to anybody else in the world, including UK or other European countries, or Canada or Mexico. It's just been, everybody has just been worse off, and it's brutal, folks. Remember that not everybody has all of that buying power that they used to, and so yeah, that's why the price increase is going up from the PlayStation for the PlayStation 5 in Japan. And it's brutal. It's brutal. And two, Black Myth Wukong, the demand, that's not helping either because so many people in Japan are trying to actually buy PlayStation 5s. Alibaba, compared to last year, said they've seen a 100% increase in buying PlayStation 5s in China, which is crazy. So again, we got a massive demand. We have millions of people trying to actually buy a PlayStation 5, and yeah, and then in Japan, that's not helping. That's not helping either. So yeah, it's expensive, folks. It's expensive. All right, let's talk about Foam Stars. So Foam Stars was initially, I think, a $30 game that you had to pay for, or like $35 game, somewhere in there. Well, now it's going free to play. Now, this is made by Square Enix, and this was made as more or less an exclusive for PlayStation. And if you had PlayStation Plus, you were able to get it for a month for free, and after that 30 days, you then had to pay for it after that. But the fact that it's going free to play is just showing that the game isn't making enough money. And so this was, again, a 4v4 type of game. It looked a lot like Splatoon on the Nintendo, but again, it is a live service. And so, yeah, MSRP was $30 US. But, now it's got to go free to play just to stay alive. And this game launched February of 2024. It launched basically 6 months ago. And if free to play doesn't work, the game's going to be dead. Like, it's not going to be worth keeping the servers up. It's not going to be worth keeping all of those employees, or maybe shifting them to another project. Hopefully there's not layoffs, but I really don't believe we're done with layoffs, folks. There is just not enough purchasing power to go around to keep everything sustainable. The companies that do the best, or the companies that actually make the most fun products, okay, like Arrowhead, or like the Science Institute for Black Myth Wukong, or some others like Black Ops 6 is probably going to be a really big one. I will be bringing a initial look at that as well. But a few games and a few companies will be okay, but a lot of others are going to be struggling, and we actually see that in their earnings reports. And if you ever want to be curious, you can always look that up stuff for free, but it's a whole bunch of numbers and it's boring. And that's why I do it, so you guys don't have to. Let's talk about Stalker 2. Now, this might actually be a really big game once it gets out there. Now, the launch has to be good, and this is the biggest thing that I'm concerned about, because Stalker 2 is made by a company that started in Ukraine. And Ukraine has been having a little problem called a war since 2022. Actually, a lot further back than that, 2014, I think. Been a long time. And 2022, it's like full-scale war now, which is awful. And so, yeah, the developers, they've had to move. They've moved to the Czech Republic now. They've even lost some of their team to the war, unfortunately. But the game is finally coming out. Now, it was supposed to come out, I think, August, September, but now that has been moved to, I think, November 2nd. And it's going to be available basically I think it's just for Xbox and just for PC, not anyone else. Ooh, I should check that. I think it's just PC and Xbox. I don't think it's PlayStation. I'll have to see. All right, be sure to check that, folks. I'm not entirely sure. All of this data eventually just runs together. It will also be on Game Pass Ultimate, so if you do want to test it out for yourself and you have the ability of having a PC or having an Xbox, you can try it out for pretty cheap for a month. But this game is going to be pretty huge. Now, I'm going to link the interview in the description. But the interview is, of course, all in Ukrainian, so please turn the subtitles on. But, man, this game sounds amazing. Just a few things about this game. The file size is 150 gigs. This game is going to be really big. And why is it so big? Well, the average time for testers that they've had play the game from start to finish and do some other side quests or whatever, just let them play to see how long it takes for them to finish. The average play time is 100 hours. That is pretty flippin' impressive. That's pretty insane. And what is Stalker 2? Maybe you don't even know. Maybe I should start there. Stalker 2 is basically an alternative history of the Chernobyl incident in Pripyat, Ukraine. Well, in Chernobyl, close to Pripyat. But yeah, I always like alternative history. I think it's very interesting. If you don't even know what Chernobyl is, basically it's a nuclear power plant accident. And in this alternative history, there's like monsters and all sorts of stuff. And the idea is that you're just trying to survive and discover what's going on and salvage some parts for money. This is basically what you do for a job. You are a stalker of trying to find older artifacts, older pieces of tech that you can actually utilize and sell to make a living being close to Chernobyl. So, and this has been around for quite some time. This was just PC. For the first time, it's finally coming to console, so I'm actually very excited about this. But this is what I would call a true survival sim. So think of like, if you ever played Metro 2033 or Metro Exodus, think of that, but on steroids. So, yeah, this honestly looks pretty intense. There's a day-night cycle. There's over 60 square kilometers of land broken up into 20 regions. This is all, as far as I can tell, it's all seamless. And if you want an idea of how big that is, Far Cry 5 was 60 square kilometers. So yeah, the game is very, very big. And there's no airplanes to fly around in. Vehicles are going to be limited. So exploration on foot is going to be mainly the way you're going to be going, which is, I think, pretty amazing. There's going to be 35 weapons in the game, and most of these weapons and attachments are going to be found by roaming. Some of them are going to be found by campaign missions. Some of them are going to be found by side quests, but a huge portion of the game is, it's not necessarily going to hold your hand. It's just going to be giving you some clues, giving you some documents throughout, and really a lot of the game's experience is going to be based off of where you're exploring and how you're playing. And that's going to be huge. So I think that's really, really fun. They said they've designed it so that no one player is going to have the same experience as somebody else. It's going to be completely different, which is great. So think of like a Starfield, or think of like a Diablo 4 maybe, or think of like, well, even better yet, like a No Man's Sky. So yeah, I'm honestly extremely excited about this. Also, everything in the game is made by humans. Now, they didn't say that AI was not used to help create and generate this game, but everything that you see, including building structures, plants, the weapons, the sky, everything has been touched by human hands, and there's no area or room that will be the same. They're not going to use procedural generation. So this is a handcrafted 60 square kilometer area like Far Cry 5. It's going to be pretty insane. And they're very proud about this. And there's, again, the interview is huge. It's like 35 minutes. I'll link this down in the description. But yeah, this will be on Game Pass Ultimate. You'll also be able to get it on PC Game Pass. If you want a standard physical edition, you have to order it directly through them. So type in stalker2.com, whatever, or look up the studio directly, and there will be options there for you to choose which edition you want. I'm just going to go for the standard edition, but even the standard edition comes with a steel book. But this is a piece of history I really want. I really hope I don't get screwed on this, because normally I'm not really big into buying physical copies unless I really, really want the game. And this is a type of game I am super excited about. So, yeah, if you're curious in that interview, link in the description. Okay, let's talk about... oh, yeah, just FYI. The Marathon older games, 1, 2, and 3, that were back on PC, like even before 1995, folks. This is going pretty far back. They're actually free on Steam right now. And I'm trying to get this out, launch it on Saturday, so that you still have the weekend to be able to go check. But yeah, as of at least Tuesday, they're free on Steam for like a week or whatever. So if you're curious or want those for free, go ahead and check it out on Steam. AI is getting better. Now, when I read this, I was first like, well, that's kind of interesting, but I started thinking about the ramifications of this. And AI is only really going to improve from here. Now, we've started kind of this AI race. I do believe there is going to be a bubble, and I do think there will kind of be like a dot-com effect. But there are going to be some people that, or some companies that will still stick around. Yeah, I don't think AI is going anywhere. True AI. Okay, we're talking about a program that can learn independently. This isn't just something that's programmed that can just algorithmic things and just present it to you. That's not what AI is. We're talking about true AI. So this was crazy. Using 900 million frames from the Doom game that was made in 1993, The AI program, Stable Diffusion version 1.4, was able to generate 20 frames per second for a player that was giving inputs on a controller. Now, this is incredible because there's no game code. There's no actual game. It's just the inputs of Stable Diffusion, knowing that it needs to generate images for Doom, and the person is giving inputs, and then the AI is generating all of those images based off of those inputs 20 frames per second. Think of that. There's not even a game playing, and this is all done in real time. And this really kind of blew my mind because it's like, we don't even have to have a digital game anymore. Like, think of that. Of course, yeah, there needed to be 9 million frames studied in Doom, but looking at some of the images, looking at a little bit of the play, it honestly looks pretty dang good. I mean, it looks great. Some of it still looks off. But yeah, this AI thing, the true AIs, not what we have access to, but what these companies and what these military industrial complex companies have access to, it is pretty impressive what they're doing. And this really was just an experiment, if it could be done. And this was done by Google and Tel Aviv University. So if you want to look more research into the paper, you can look into this. But yeah, I saw this as a little blip of one of the articles. And yeah, I just find it fascinating that there wasn't even a physical game there. Like, the guy was playing the game, but the AI was generating the game for him in real time. All of the frames, 20 frames per second. And he was playing Doom. I just, that is crazy. Now, something like this on the screen, okay, Doom graphics from 93 is really super freaking old. To give some of you younger folks an idea, that's even before the PlayStation 1. Okay, so yeah, so we're going way, way back, right? Way freaking back. Now, to generate something like this in real time on the screen, like Star Wars Outlaws or like Starfield or something like that, of course, would take a ton of processing power. And you still need the ability for the AI to study something so that it can produce it accurately. But still, it's just amazing that we have an AI that's able to do that in real time for a player. Like, that is just crazy. So decades from now, that actually might become more of a type of gaming thing where some of these publishers are going to experiment with that as this technology improves and gets cheaper. Right now, it's not even available for sale or anything. As far as I can tell, it's extremely expensive. It's all experimentation only. But yeah, the future, when I retire, folks, 30 years from now, is going to look pretty dang different. And it's kind of a little scary. Okay, let's talk about crafting. Now, Callisto Protocol, okay, we probably heard about this. A lot of us that were Dead Space fans were very excited about this because Schofield is one of the lead designers for Dead Space. And Dead Space is amazing. Dead Space 1, 2, and 3 are all pretty good, and there was actually room left open for a Dead Space 4. You can see that at the store at the end of Dead Space 3. I won't spoil any more for you. But we never got a Dead Space 4. It just cut off. And who owns Dead Space? Of course, EA. And EA is all about making money right now, like with Football Club and a few others. We did get at least a Dead Space remake, which is nice, but they said they didn't make enough money, so they're not interested in doing the other remakes for 2 and 3, which is so frustrating, so frustrating. But anyway, so Schofield, after all of that, decided to start his own company called Striking Distance, his own studio, and they started working on Callisto Protocol. Now, Krafton technically owns them. They're a subsidiary, and even though Striking Distance was founded by Schofield, there needed to be some money up front, and that's what Krafton was used for, to actually start the studio, hire people, all of this kind of stuff. And I was actually very excited about Callisto Protocol, but it really didn't seem like a finished game. The combat was pretty bad. There were also some animation issues. There were also issues with quality and performance mode. There were missing frames. I mean, it was kind of a mess, and they really had to patch some of this. But we found out in an interview fairly recently that the cards were stacked against the game. Now, many employees, of course, this all happened during 2020, right? The development. Um, but yeah, many employees got sick. Sometimes whole departments were out, so they couldn't even work on the game. We also had the Great Resignation, which 49 employees actually quit, mostly over pay. And a lot of companies were losing employees, and it was hard to get them to come back because, again, why go to work if you're just being paid by the government through stimulus to stay home, right? And a lot of people did that. You know, hundreds of millions around the world did that. There were other places too, like in California, where we didn't have a choice. Like, basically, unless you were essential, you didn't go to work, which is kind of insane. Now, one thing that really changed the development of this game was that Crafton um, told Schofield, hey, we're cutting 10 weeks off of your development time. He's like, what? Yeah, he was really shocked by this because you're shutting, or think of it as like 3.5 months of development time. Some of the delays that we have in these games are that long. 3-4 months, and then the game comes out, because they're trying to polish it and all this stuff. But yeah, to cut off 10 weeks, that's kind of insane. And honestly, Crafton wanted to, they did this to look better before going public. Yay, it's about money. Isn't that wonderful? And so there were basically 12 months left of dev time when they found out that they weren't going to get as long as they thought. And so it was crunch time during those 12 months. And they had people quitting, and they had employees getting sick. And this was a studio that was roughly like 200 people. So maybe 250. So when you're having 50 people quit, when you're having whole departments that are getting sick, like, this was just not good game development for multiple years. And then, yeah, when it finally came out, it was just like, oh my word, it was just awful. And so at the end of it all, well, even Schofield during that time, during that 12 months, he's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do what I want to do with my game, excuse me, folks, I'm going to need more people. And Crafton said, no, you're going to have the team that you have, the ones that are here working. We're not going to replace the people that quit, and you have this much time. Go. And so, yeah, they did, honestly, the best they could. They simplified some things. They altered some things. That's why some of the story really doesn't make sense, or there's continuity issues. And they also cut out some stuff, too, which is pretty insane, like 2 bosses and also 4 different enemy types, which really would have helped with the combat and variety in the game. And there were probably also some sections of the game that were actually cut out that we never got to see, which is really frustrating. With this entire debacle, the top 3 heads of Striking Distance, including Schofield, they quit after the game was launched, and Callisto Protocol basically got half of the sales that Crafton wanted. And so then on top of that, Crafton fired another 32 employees. Yay! We actually covered this like last year. So today's Striking Distance is a smaller studio, but they are working on their next game. It is going to be in the Callisto Protocol universe. But God, I hope Crafton learned their lesson. And why am I bringing all this up? Well, because Crafton bought Tango Gameworks. Now, I'm glad Tango Gameworks isn't gone, but this really makes me concerned about how Crafton handles their studios, and whatever game Tango Gameworks is working on next. Because this can really end up being maybe more of a worse thing. Now, Crafton did buy the IP rights to Hi-Fi Rush. They do not have the IP rights to The Evil Within. That is still with ZeniMax. But it makes me very curious, the next game that Tango Gameworks is going to be and how it's going to go for the development anyway, because I don't know if it's actually going to be the same quality. And I really hope I'm wrong, but we should just take it with a grain of salt that maybe Crafton is not the best thing that happened to Tango Gameworks. Of course, being shut down, being cut off of funding, laying everybody off, yes, that is a horrible fate. But sometimes, when a company's being let go and they're kept alive, though, they kind of turn into a zombie, and I just hope that doesn't happen with Tango Gameworks. Because they don't deserve it. Okay, they're a wonderful studio. They've made some great games. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on them in Crafton. All right, let's talk about Star Wars Outlaws. We're going to be talking about this actually for quite a while. So we found out why early access can be fraud. Isn't that nice? Um, so with Star Wars Outlaws, you could actually buy 3 days early, and PlayStation 5 players found out that there's game progressing bugs that stranded them in space. There are also some other bugs too, like really dumb AI decisions or NPC decisions, and just um, kind of some world-breaking things that were going on in the game. But actually getting stuck in space, that is not what we really want to hear, unfortunately. And this sucks. So yeah, what did Ubisoft do? Well, they apologized. They released a day one patch. And unfortunately, now those players, they're playing an older version of the game that doesn't exist. And so they have to technically delete their save and start over. So even if you're just a few hours into the game, you just got to play all that over again. And let me tell you, the prologue is better than the prologue in Assassin's Creed Mirage, thank goodness. But it's still not great. It's kind of slow. There's a lot of tutorial stuff to go through. You could probably blow through it in an hour, maybe 50 minutes. But having to play the prologue again is horrible. I don't wish that on anybody. Ubisoft is also offering basically $100 worth of Ubi coin to say sorry, so people can spend this in the game or spend it somewhere else or whatever on cosmetics, etc. Which, some other people's opinion, and including mine, Ubisoft should offer refunds because it's like people basically paid $110 to be able to play early, and it's as if they never played early to begin with because they have to start the whole bloody game over. And that's horrible. They should at least offer refunds or offer them the 100, depending, and let the player decide on what they want. But as far as we know with PC and Xbox, they're running fine. And I got to agree with that myself. Xbox is actually running pretty good. And I started playing it in early access because I got Ubisoft Plus for cheap, so I could try the game for cheap. So that if it did suck, I wasn't out a lot of money. But yeah, we'll actually have to see if this day one patch is really going to change things for me. Maybe, too, it was just for PlayStation. I really don't know. So far, Star Wars Outlaws has actually run pretty good. I haven't had any problems, but the prologue was pretty catered, and so we're going to get to the open world, and we can definitely start seeing some bugs there. So tune in for part 2 if you're interested. But unfortunately, early access being a mess, it's not just an Ubisoft Outlaw problem, okay? This happened with Starfield players on Steam. They had issues even just starting the game, even though they had paid for early access. Diablo 4 players had problems with multiplayer servers during early access. Skull and Bones couldn't even connect to the servers for early access. Suicide Squad launched shortly to just be taken offline again due to major story bugs for early access. Modern Warfare 3 had authentication problems, and you couldn't even start the campaign. This also, too, is for early access. Football Club 24, PC players couldn't play early access due to EA's mistake. Isn't that nice? And so, unfortunately, all of these are recent games, and all of these cost more for early access. It wasn't like open testing or something like that. No, this is actually paid early access from anywhere from like 3 to 5 days. And the reason this really sucks is because there's no refunds on this. Once you pay that money's gone. Now, they're still going to try to compensate you, still try to say sorry and apologize in some way. But again, for some people, it's really not enough. And early access is also giving you the worst version of the game at start. And then, too, which sounds so dumb with Outlaw's case, is that if they're not going to give you the day one patch on the first day of early access, and there's issues there, like with Star Wars Outlaws, then what the heck is the point of even buying early access? I don't see the point of buying early access to begin with. I can wait 3 or 5 days or whatever. My life's busy enough. But for Pete's sakes, here you're paying $100 to $110, maybe even $120, depending on what version you have to get or want to get for a video game. And the launch is garbage. Early access is broken. You can't even access it. Can't even play. There's hours of bugs and stuff. Now, if it's like an open beta test, like Black Ops 6 was buggy for about an hour and a half, it was really hard to get into matches, and they were able to fix that, luckily, get more servers online, which means there's a lot of people playing the open beta right now for Black Ops 6. I think that is going to be a huge game this year. And I'll be showing it to you here on the channel as well. But yeah, I just think it's insane. It's like we're paying $100 plus now for a video game that doesn't work. And these aren't just little bugs. I mean, these are like game breaking. Quite a few of them break the immersion. And these are also with games that are delayed. And they're still flipping broken. Okay, so what's the excuse? I think it's utterly insane that people are paying for early access because it's a risk. Because you never get your money back. You never get it back. And you're not actually gaining any utility besides just being able to play it sooner than somebody else by 3 days or 5 days. I think the longest one was 6. And again, yeah, what do you guys think? Leave it down in the comments. But yeah, there's no direct refunds ever for any of these. Now, if the game is really, really broke, okay, like Cyberpunk 2077, they offer refunds, right? Also on Steam, if you play for less than 2 hours and you want a refund, okay, you can get your money back. But again, for like Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo, they don't offer anything like that. And so, yeah, here people are buying these expensive games that are delayed, not just 2 or 3 months, but like up to a year, and they're still pieces of garbage. And you're paying $100 plus? Come on, folks. Use your head a little bit. It's not worth the risk. If you can blow that money, I guess, by all means, you're better off than most of us. But that just sounds insane to me. It really does. It sounds crazy. Now, this does bring up another point. Space Marine 2 is going to have 4 days early access. And are you going to buy it? Are you going to take the risk? Because, again, you're not going to get your money back. And it's not 100 this time. It's just 90. But still, it's like an extra $30. What do you think? There's a lot of hype right now around Space Marine 2. But we also didn't get our beta test. Because they said, well, instead of doing the beta test, which they'd have to make from scratch, in a way, they decided to take the time and just continue to polish the game. So that's good and all, but again, we don't have a beta test. So we really don't know the condition of the game. We have seen what they want to show us, but again, that's not really the game, the product that we're paying for. So again, are you going to take the risk? Let me know in the comments. I'm super curious. So currently I'm playing Outlaws, as I said before. Part 1 initial look is out. This is just a prologue. It just shows some combat, shows some of the mini games, shows some of the world and stuff. And yeah, it's about an hour and a half, and I have my thoughts at the end if you're interested. Link in the description. This also has chapters too, so if you want to skip hop around, that's perfectly fine. Part 2 will cover more of the open world and space exploration and combat. And I really want to see how open world Outlaws is. And so that's what part 2 will be for. And then eventually I'll have a review once I finish the game. At least the core game itself. Not doing everything, but just the core game. And then later I will cover the 2 DLCs that we're going to get. And again, thank you for voting in January. You'll be able to vote again in January for the next set of games for 2025. And I will let you guys know probably the beginning of February what game won. And I'm kind of curious too, but we've had a lot of games that have been delayed. We've had a lot of games that aren't doing great, or that don't even have an announced date yet. There's been a lot of finagling around too, and there's been a lot of them. And so, yeah, I'm really gonna have to do my due diligence and try to pick some games that we know are coming out in 25, games that I actually want to play, and then you guys get to vote. So stay tuned for that. Oh yeah, I want to remind you guys too. Another FYI, don't forget to stack your Xbox service before September 12th. That's actually coming up in basically less than 2 weeks, and we know that we got these price hikes. Now, if you want to pay for a service that you haven't had before, then yeah, the price hikes start now. They already started, right? So this doesn't pertain to you. But if you have like Game Pass console or standard, or well, standard's coming out on the 12th, or you have ultimate, or you have core, and if you just want to stack, I think you can stack up to like 14 months or something, or 13 months. Then yeah, go ahead and stack as far as you can with your current service, and that will save you money at least for about another year, until you actually have to eat the actual price hike. There is a way around this though too, if you wish. I've done it myself, and it works. It's not perfect. It's not flawless. It's kind of like eBay a little bit, but you can use cdkeys.com. They've been around for a very, very, very long time, along with G2A. So you can basically, it's like a market to be able to find codes for various things, all gaming related, and Xbox Game Pass is on there. And so if you're wanting to pick some up for cheap and you're wanting to stack it, I suggest using one of those. Of course, please do not use your debit card. Use at a minimum a credit card or get a prepaid, and get the cheaper price, because some of these are actually pretty cheap. Some of these storefronts also have discounts and sales that they do every so often. So like Black Friday, Cyber Monday is a wonderful time to look at these. But that's what I've been doing with Game Pass, and my cheapest price so far has been $5 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, and that's been really nice. So just a heads up on that. So how is Star Wars Outlaws doing so far for reviews? Now, currently, we don't have user reviews out yet on Metacritic, but we do have at least some reviews for all three consoles. So on PC, it's got a 77. PlayStation 5, it's got a 77. Xbox has a 75. And so it's okay. It's not great or wonderful or whatever. It's not like an amazing game, but it's pretty good. And personally, after just playing the prologue so far, I'm at about a 65 out of 100. And it's a fair game for Star Wars. Okay, if you're interested in Star Wars and you want to play something and Acolyte just made you puke, then yeah, this is probably something you want to play or just enjoy. This takes place between Episode 5 and Episode 6 in this world. And we actually, in the prologue, we had something happen that I didn't expect at all. In the story, which was actually kind of cool. But what's cool also about this is that this is not the Acolyte. Okay, again, I just want to emphasize that. This is just normal Star Wars. It's nice. Honestly, it's really nice. They get a lot of things right. They get the style right. They get the droids, the weapons, the atmosphere. It looks good. Honestly, it looks good. The amount of options, too, that you have for gameplay and how much you can actually control versus what the game does for you, and anywhere in between, it is some of the most settings and options I've seen in a video game. It is pretty flippin' insane, and I cover that too in my initial look as I'm going through the prologue when I first boot up the game. That's like the first few minutes. The game too is very stealth focused. There's not going to be a whole bunch of like big shootouts and whatever. It's going to be very stealth focused. Now, what's frustrating though to me personally, this really just kind of angers me, is that you get caught in some of these missions. So you're not ever supposed to be hidden. And if you get caught, that's the end, and you have to start back over and do it again. There's no shootout. There's no trying. There's no making it right with anybody. It's just you flat get. It literally imposes that on the screen, caught. and that's the end of that, and you got to start over. And that really sucks because that really, in my opinion, cheapens the experience. And that's an old mechanic we haven't really seen in video games for a long time. At least maybe try to shoot your way out, or something. I mean, that's what they've done with Division. That's what they've done with some of their other games too. Like, as far as I could see, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is like, if you make a mistake, you get the responsibility to own it in the game, and you don't actually get to do that all the time in Outlaws, which is stupid. They shouldn't be doing that. The combat too overall doesn't feel challenging. I'll be up in the difficulty settings during my next session, and I haven't been able to use the ship yet, so I can't talk to that. But so far, that's just my overall feelings of Star Wars Outlaws. Again, I give it a 65 out of 100. If I was going to pay for it, I'd probably pay around 30-40 bucks. But yeah, I definitely wait for basically 50% off-ish for the base game and just buy that. And if I liked it or whatever, or if you're not sure, Ubisoft Plus again for a month. You can try it, see if you like it. And if not, you didn't lose much. So let's get to some obituaries. These ones I came across my desk, so to speak, and I was kind of bummed. Atsuko Tanaka dies at 61. She was the voice of Lara Croft in the original Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 and Last Revelation. Her son made an announcement a few days ago saying that she died of a undisclosed illness. And yeah, that's just a really good piece of history there. I mean, we've had movies made, we had a reboot movie made, we've had a reboot whole Lara Croft series. We got the remakes, which I'm playing through. They're so fun to play. And but yeah, when she's talking in those games, this is her. This is Mrs. Tanaka. And just to find out, yeah, she basically died this week. That sucks. That's like part of my childhood. That's awful. Someone else that died in May was Bernard Hill. He was 79, and he was King Theoden in the Lord of the Rings movies, and the Two Towers and Return of the King. So, yeah, we just have a landscape of wonderful talent just kind of leaving this earth, and we got a new era coming in, like the Acolyte and Borderlands, and it just kind of flippin' sucks. You know what I mean? It just kind of flippin' sucks. And, yeah, to lose just some of this gaming history or movie history, entertainment history, if you will, and some of these wonderful actors. Yeah, it's just disheartening a little bit. So that was sad. All right, games coming in September. We actually got quite a few, so pay attention. We got the Quidditch Champions. This is going to be the third. This is $30. If you want the super fancy edition, it's going to be $40. Age of Mythology is coming on the 4th. That's going to be on Game Pass. We also have Astrobot. That's going to be on the 6th. We also have NBA 2K25. That's on the 6th. Space Marine 2. That's on the 9th. Throne and Liberty, which is going to be the 17th. And that's actually just going to be PC. I don't think that's going to... I think that might be PlayStation 5 and Xbox, but at a later time. Train Sim 5 on the 17th. We have the Dead Rising remaster on the 19th. Frostpunk 2 on the 20th. This was actually delayed for like a couple of months. Again, they just wanted to make sure they got some things right. And so, yeah, it's supposed to come out on the 20th of September. We have Ara coming out on the 24th. Epic Mickey rebrushed. This is another remaster game where you're going to be able to like split screen co-op, I believe. This is also going to be launching, I believe, on the Nintendo Switch. And this also is going to be on the 24th. We have Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which personally I'm not excited about. I will totally skip this one. I don't give a rip about waving a wand around and duplicating or cloning things. I could care less. This is coming out on the 26th. Football Club 25. This is coming out on the 27th. And then Starfield Shattered Space is coming out on the 30th. So those are the games you have forward. That's right. These are the games you have to look forward to in September. Are you interested for any? The only one I would probably be interested in is, Starfield Shattered Space. that actually looks really interesting. Again, I hope it's actually fairly large. From Bethesda. Usually they do a pretty good job. Epic Mickey Rebrushed, that would be another one for me. And then also Space Marine 2. I hope to get my hands on that at some point. So what about you folks? Are you excited for any? Leave it down in the comments. With that, folks, hopefully you guys are doing well. Thanks for tuning in. And, boy, the heat is almost over. But some of you guys are dealing with hurricanes. Some of you guys in the world are dealing with volcanoes, which is insane. Some of you are dealing with hurricanes. Man, China is just getting smashed with floods. This is like the second or third month in a row. China is just getting smashed with floods real bad. And then we have wars all over the world too. So, take a chill pill. Come hang out at the channel. Play some games. Take some rest for yourself. And I'm doing the same. And with that, I'll see you guys.